Today we'll build a chatbot application powered by Llama 3.2, running locally using Ollama. Let's code together. Before we start, here is how the app works. You type in a prompt, hit the send button, and boom. You get an AI-generated response right there. Cool, right? All right, we start by creating a new Flutter project and opening our main.dart file. Here, I've set up a simple MyApp class. This is our entry point. It uses Material App to define the app's title, theme, and home screen. Now here's where the magic begins. In the chat screen class, we're building a basic user interface for our chatbot. Think of it as the front end of our app. We're using a stateful widget because our chat history needs to be dynamic. It'll change every time you send or receive a message. This UI is pretty straightforward. There's an app bar at the top for the title, a list view in the middle for displaying chat messages, and a text input field at the bottom where users can type their messages. Simple, right? But let me show you how it's structured in code. We have a text controller to capture user input and a list of messages. Notice the first message in chat messages. It sets the tone for the chatbot as a helpful assistant. That's what makes your AI conversational. Now here's where we display these messages in the UI, in our list view. Each message gets rendered in a bubble with a neat left-aligned or right-aligned layout, depending on who sent it. And finally, we've got a text field at the bottom where users can type in their messages. It's pretty standard, a single-line input with a send button to trigger the API call. All right, so what happens when a user types a message and hits the send button? That's where this query function comes into play. Here's what it does. It grabs the user's input from the text field, appends it to our chat history, and sends it to the Ollama API running locally. Pretty cool, huh? Before we dive into the query function and how it communicates with our AI model, let me walk you through setting up Ollama. We're using Ollama to run Llama 3.2 locally. So what is Ollama? It's a lightweight application that lets you run large language models like Llama directly on your computer without relying on the cloud. It's fast, efficient, and most importantly, private. Now, here's how you get it running. First, head over to ollama.com/download. Download the appropriate installer for your operating system. They've got versions for macOS and Windows, so pick the one that works for you. Once it's downloaded, go ahead and run the installer. The process is simple and straightforward. Just follow the prompts and you're all set up. Once it's installed, run the Ollama application. Now that you've got Ollama installed and running, it's time to pull the Llama 3.2 model. Open your terminal and type this command. Ollama pull Llama 3.2. This command fetches the Llama 3.2 model and downloads it to your local machine. Be patient. It's a big model, so it might take some time depending on your internet speed. You'll see the progress bar showing the download status. Once it's done, the model is ready to use. Once the download completes, the Ollama service automatically starts running in the background. You don't need to configure anything else. By default, it listens for requests on this URL. This is the endpoint we'll use to send user queries and receive AI-generated responses. Just make sure you keep the Ollama running in the background. If you want to confirm that everything is working, you can type Ollama run Llama 3.2 in the terminal to manually run the model. You can also have a conversation directly in the terminal. And that's it. You now have Llama 3.2 running locally on your machine. From here on, our Flutter app can interact with this local API to provide chatbot responses. Now, let's see how we use this in the query function. So first, we construct the message in JSON format. This structure follows the messaging conventions for Llama models. Every message has a role, user or system, and some content. We add the user message to our chat history. Next, we package the entire chat history into a payload. The model we are using is Llama 3.2. You can pull several models provided by Ollama. So make sure that you select the right model for your use case. We assign the chat messages list to the messages key. This includes the user's prompt and previous conversation history. We set the stream key to false. This controls how the response from the server is received. In our case, false suggests receiving the entire response at once rather than a stream of data. Then we make a post request to the local API running at port 11434. Make sure Ollama is running when testing this locally. The body argument is set to the JSON-encoded version of the data dictionary we created earlier. If the response is successful, we extract the AI's reply and add it back to the chat. Then clear the input field and update the application state. And of course, we've used try-catch block for error handling just in case something goes wrong, like a failed connection or an invalid response. In case of any failure, we remove the user message from the chat history. All right, that's the whole code. I know this is not the perfect application, but you can refine it and add or remove features according to your requirements. Run the app and see it in action. See, you type in a prompt, and the AI responds almost instantly. This is all happening locally thanks to Ollama and Llama 3.2. It's fast, private, and super fun to build. Let me know in the comments, what do you want to build next? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Happy coding!